Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in two cases, cause numbers 23 CCCR 1730 and cause number 23 CCR 1752. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Cyrus Sanchez Dejon Kane. Mr. Kane, is that your full name? Mr. Kane, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Kane, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in every regard? Mr. Kane, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Kane?
I'm doing okay, man. Yourself?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Kane, I have before me two documents. First document is titled Judge's Explanation of Rights of Defendants Without Attorney. You recognize this document?
Sir.
On the next document is titled Waiver of Counsel for Purposes in a Guilty Plea or Proceeding Trial. You recognize this document? Now, Mr. Kane, before you sign these documents, did you read the documents?
Sir.
Did you understand what you read?
Sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Sir.
Now, in this document, Judge's Explanation of Rights of Defendants Without Attorney, there's a set of initials on the line that states I want to waive my right to attorney and represent myself. Is that correct?
Sir.
And also on this document, the next document, waiver of counsel for purposes in a guilty plea or proceeding trial. And is this your signature? Okay, and you stated that before you sign these documents, you read the documents, you understand what you read. And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? All right. Now, Mr. Kane, in cause number 23 CCCR 1730, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information, Mr. Kane, it alleges that you, Cyrus King, on or about August 4th, 2023, while you're in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of resisting arrest, search, transportation. Mr. Kane, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Kane, how do you plead guilty? Not guilty, no contest.
Guilty.
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kane, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, there are two. Okay, you have your signature on the line that is titled, it's next to a box that's checked guilty. You place your signature on this document.
Yes, sir.
On the next line, there are a set of initials below a paragraph that is titled Discovery Admonishment. And the statement next to the line states, I do not request discovery of evidence. I waive my right to request discovery in this case and choose to enter a plea of guilty or no contest. Place your initials on this document.
Sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that's titled Defendant. Is this your signature?
Sir.
And on the next document, it's titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled,
Yes, sir.
your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this document, there are two boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement? The second box that's checked states that you are waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
I also have, well, now, Mr. Kane, before you sign and initial these documents, all of these documents that I just showed you, did you read the documents?
Yes, sir.
To understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Kane, are you a citizen of the United States? State, I have before me states exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer states exhibit number 1?
Yeah.
Any objections?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Kane, I'm gonna show you what has been marked as states exhibit number 1. States exhibit number 1 is the document that is the first document the third document that you acknowledge that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishment. This is the same document that have your signature on the line next to box next guilty and your initials below the paragraph that is titled discovery admonition. And your signature is on page 3. Now, the state wants to use this document as evidence against you in your case. Is it all right for the state to use this document as evidence against you in your case? Okay. No objection. State's exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Kane, is there any evidence that you are currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Sir.
Okay. Mr. Kane, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Judge.
What is that agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state has offered 60 days in Jefferson County Jail, credit for 60 days, tax and retired court costs, time served.
Mr. Kane, the state is offering that you serve 60 days in the Jefferson County Jail, but you will not be required to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you've already served 60 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you've already served. The court costs in this case will be taxed and retired. That simply means that you will not be required to pay the court costs in this case because the time you spent in jail has already paid it off. And cause number 23 CCCR 1752 will be dismissed. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Mr. Kane, do you understand the state's offer?
Sir.
You think the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Sir.
You accept the state's offer?
Sir.
Mr. Kane, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Kane, if there is not anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today. Okay? Now, Mr. Kane, you're gonna stand right here in front of our clerk, follow her directions. Once you finish following her directions, you can follow the bailiff and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Just, he just.
Okay.
Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session and cause number M333414, case of style, the state of Texas versus Jose Fernando Balderas. Mr. Balderas, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Balderas, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Balderas, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Balderas, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Balderas?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Mr. Balderas, you're representing your case by your attorney, Attorney Kimmler. Attorney Kimmler, how are you doing? Mr. Kimmler, do you waive a record in Mr. Balderas' case? And Mr. Balderas, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information, it alleges that you, Jose Fernando Balderas, on or about May 28th of 2022, while you're in Jefferson County, Texas, operating a motor vehicle in a public place, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated. Mr. Balderas, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Balderas, how do you plead guilty? Not guilty, no contest.
Guilty, sir.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Balderas, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Balderas, on page 2 of this same document, which is also labeled as State's Exhibit number 1, there's a set of initials online that's checked. Next to the box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document that's titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, you recognize this document.
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
Second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
I also have before me a document that's titled Discovery Certification. Recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Balderas, before you sign and initial these documents, did your attorney, Mr. Kimmler, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
Is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me stage 1, state black office, stage 1.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
Well,
No objection. State's exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Kimmler, you've advised and counseled Mr. Balderas. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
there's no,
And Mr. Balderas, your attorney, Mr. Kimmler, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Balderas, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
1 year deferred probation, a $500 fine, 50 hours of community service, interlock, and standard DWI conditions. No, it's deferred, you have that.
oh, yeah,
Mr. Balderas, the state is offering,
yeah, yeah.
let's see, state,
Okay.
what is his,
You have to have.
392?
You have convictions.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 392,
You can take a conviction out.
okay,
Okay.
721.
So why would you? I think you have to have it straight. No, it's kind of good. You think it's straight for it.
Email your legislature. I just,
Just, you have this to press people.
yes.
I'm just saying, you would think the straight. Seriously. The bottom line, you know.
Okay, now, Mr. Balderas, the state is offering that you serve 1 year deferred adjudicated probation. During the 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $500 plus court costs of $392. You also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 a month, your analysis fee of $15 a month, and reimbursement fee of $15. You'll also be required to pay Jefferson County DWI education and initial evaluation fee of $125 on the plea, and you'll be required to pay an additional $50 should you need a further evaluation. Total that you will be required to pay each month while you're on probation is $164 a month. Will you be able to pay the $164 each month?
Yes, sir.
You'll also be required to perform 50 hours of community service. You'll also be required to install an interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate. You'll be required to attend and complete DWI education. And you will be required to adhere to the other standard terms of DWI probation. You'll be required to also have an alcohol assessment. Now, Mr. Balderas, let me do this. Now, Mr. Balderas, do you have a commercial driver's license or just a regular driver's license?
Actually, don't have
Okay. Now, this offense occurred after September 1st of 2019. And let's see, and you didn't have to have a blood test of part 1.5 or more. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, Mr. Balderas, you qualify for deferred adjudicated probation. Mr. Balderas, do you understand the state's offer in this case?
Yes.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Do
And do you accept the state's offer? Mr. Balderas, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Balderas, if you successfully complete this probationary period, you will not have a conviction on your record, and you may qualify for non-disclosure. You can talk to your attorney about the non-disclosure because he's quite competent in those matters. Now, Mr. Balderas, you're going to stand next to your attorney, follow the direction of the clerk. Once you're finished following the directions of the clerk, you'll be free to go,
You need to go.
and you have a blessed day.
Yeah.
You're gonna sign here, and you're gonna sign this other one. And you're signing too, because one is a record.
Kane, we got Kane again? Cyrus Kane.
Put the pen right there. You ready to go?
Yeah, that's the other thing with odds to it. Fingerprint.
I hurt my hand and it just hurts. Yeah.
Yes, another case that's not on the docket.
This is
How many, I said Michael,
He's on the docket.
Yes.
Oh, no, what happened? On Odyssey, they got his case twice.
Oh.
Same thousand.
Same cause number.
Yeah.
That's why it's on here twice. That's why I was,
Announcement of docket.
no, I'm just looking at it on here. It comes up twice.
Oh, it's on.
Okay,
I reset it in first. That's what
okay, you can't, okay,
it-
okay, Odyssey, okay. This is cause number 23 CCCR 0458. Case is style of state of Texas versus Michael Allen Johnson. Mr. Johnson, is that your full name?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Johnson, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Johnson, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Johnson? That's good, Mr. Johnson. I have before me a document. Well, Mr. Johnson, you're representing your case by your attorney, Attorney Kimler, do you waive a record
So wait,
in Mr. Johnson's case? Mr. Johnson, I have before me a document that is titled Information Sheet. This information sheet was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. Somebody gonna have to, is he pleading guilty or no contest or whatever? No, I'm saying, is he pleading?
oh, here.
Yeah, at the top where you see a box that says guilty or no contest. Mr. Johnson, this information sheet alleges that you, Michael Allen Johnson, on or about September 5th of 2022, while you in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated with alcohol concentration level 0.15 or more. State, are you abandoning the enhancement paragraph?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Johnson, what that basically means is, even though the state filed a class A misdemeanor driving while intoxicated with an alcohol concentration level 0.15 or more, they are reducing it to a class B misdemeanor driving while intoxicated. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, to the charge of class B driving while intoxicated, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Is also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, there's a set of initials on the line next to a box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document? On the next document that is titled, well, on the same document, on page 3 above the line that is titled Defendant, there's a signature. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
The discovery certification? Get that, okay. And Mr. Johnson, I also have a document that is titled Discovery Certification. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? Mr. Johnson, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney, Mr. Kimler, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Johnson, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1 in evidence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Without objection.
No objection. State's Exhibit Number 1 is admitted. Mr. Kimler, you've advised and counseled Mr. Johnson. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson, your attorney, Mr. Kimler, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is to plead to 90 days probated over 1 year with a $500 fine, 50 hours community service, and DWI standard conditions probation.
Mr. Johnson, the state is offering that you serve 1 year, serve 90 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you will be placed on probation for a period of 1 year. During the 1 year probationary period, what's this court cost? You'll be required to pay a fine of $500 plus, let's see, plus court costs of $392, plus a probation fee of $60 a month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month, and a reimbursement fee of $15. Your total monthly installments will be $164 a month. Mr. Johnson, would you be able to pay the $164 each month?
Yes, Your Honor.
You'll also be required to pay the initial DWI education fee of $125 on the day of plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. The state is also offering that you serve 50 hours or perform 50 hours of community service. You'll have to attend the DWI education and initial evaluation or the DWI education class. You will also be required to have alcohol assessment and adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of DWI probation. Mr. Johnson, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, I'll follow plea bargain agreement that that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Johnson, you're gonna stand next to your attorney, follow the directions of the clerk. Once you finish following the directions of the clerk, you're free to go and you have a blessed day.
Probation after lock and check.
Okay, we gotta, yeah, Mr. Dahl case is we're gonna, rescind Mr. Dahl and then Mr. This is cause number M 331-272. Case is style of state of Texas versus Horatio Mendoza. Horatio Mendoza was scheduled to be in court this morning for the announcement docket at or about 9 a.m. And at or about 9 a.m. the court's bailiff called the name of Horatio Mendoza at the courthouse door. Horatio Mendoza did not answer. Horatio Mendoza has not appeared in court since the court has been in session. The bailiff just called Horatio Mendoza's name again at the courthouse door, and the time now, the time that he called it was at 12:34 p.m. on today's date of November 6th of 2023. Horatio Mendoza been given an opportunity to appear in court. He has not appeared in court. State, you have a motion?
Yes, Your Honor. Statements were wrong forfeiture.
That motion will be granted. Horatio Mendoza's bond will be forfeited and a warrant should be issued for his arrest in cause number M 331-272. Okay, that's Mr. Robinson. He's here. Page 2. Jamal Hakeem. Oh.
He's in custody.
Hakeem is in custody. Okay. Arsenio, you
He had a felony. This was recent.
Okay.
12/11.
okay? Next case is cause on page 3 of the court's docket. 23 CCCR 0474. Case is style of state of Texas versus Brandon Kirkpatrick. Brandon Kirkpatrick was scheduled to be in court this morning at 9 a.m. That's on page 3 of the announcement
Yeah,
document.
that case was reset.
The case was reset.
With the felony January 1st, 2020, 22nd of 2020.
Okay. Felony. Okay, page 4 of the docket. Everybody was here. Page 5 of the docket. Reset. What about Mario Garcia? Scott Rennick, page 5.
Mario Garcia.
That was reset. Okay, 12, it was reset to 12/11/2023. Page 6, everybody was here. We took care of those. And page 7, everybody. Okay, this will conclude the calling of the court's announcement docket, the pretrial conference docket, and the trial docket. All 3 dockets scheduled at 9 a.m. on today's date of November 6th of 2023. County Court at Law number 2, Judge Terrence Holmes presiding.